Okay, I'm pulling the sway bar off. So the front sway bar is coming off. Rob Technical Garage, pulling that front sway bar off, replacing it with a heavy duty, and I'm also going to put a sway bar on the back as well. And right now I'm pulling the sway bar off right now, and I'm going to get you up here, try to get you closer. So you have this clip right here that needs to come off. So the first thing you have to do is bend this tab down, because the tab is up here, and then you drive it towards the smaller end. So there's the end with the tab is wider. Keep you out of the light there maybe, and this other end is narrower. So right there. So this end is narrower. So what you don't want to, you want to drive it away from the narrow end. Right there. So that's what I've started to do, and it's coming off there. So we'll get that off, and then we have a 17mm bolt that needs to come out. I'm going to try to change. Maybe you can see it there. All right, so we're driving it off there. If I can move this somewhere else. It's not shining in your eyes there as much. I think that's probably good. All right, so we'll get this knocked off first. Finish driving it out there, and I'm just using a punch here, holding it with some pliers. I don't want to smack my finger, so. And I'm reusing these parts, so I'm trying not to completely trash them. So when I reinstalled the other one, I didn't buy a new kit. I've read mixed opinions on the new kit. Some people, they don't fit very well, is what I've heard. So if you can save your old ones, I think you might be better off. So we'll get that done down there. And now you got to get you have the bracket that goes over the top of this, or clamp rather, and let's pry it apart a little bit and it'll slide off, looks like. We'll get that, work that off, and then there's a rubber clamp or rubber thing here as well, and that looks like that splits over here. So next time you get is the bolt. So there's a 17mm bolt and nut there. Pull that off next. There we go. That off. Take it off from this side maybe. I'll pry on that a bit. See if I can't get that come free. This is the first side, so I think it might free up on its own if I have the other side off. Maybe I'll do that first. But yeah, so I think it'll free up once I get the other side. So I'll work on the other side. I'm just going to do the same thing over there, and I'll come back once the other side is off and show you how that frees up there. All right, I've been working on the other side of the sway bar, front sway bar replacement, 1970 VW bus. So I've got the other clamp off. That's probably the biggest pain, is you just got to beat the crap out of that thing to get it out of there. But I think after that we should be good. So I'm just trying to get off this last bolt here, and then it should free up hopefully. All right, this side is free here. I'm gonna just let this go for a second. When I just have the other side left. Get you into the camera frame here. So I just have the last side left here, and I'm just trying to get that nut off. So, all right, there we go. So I will, I'll come back on camera, show you a comparison of the two before we get it installed in here. Okay, there's the old front sway bar, the stock one, obviously in the front there, compared to the Impy one, and I'll put a model number there. But this is significantly heavier and a lot more heavy duty. I mean, I don't know what the diameter is, but it's a significant difference there. So we'll get that bolted in, and then we will get the rear one installed too. So I bought a matching one for the rear also. So we'll get those installed. Coming up. Thanks, guys. Getting the new sway bar mounted onto the 1970 VW bus. At this point, I've used a couple cable ties here to just hang it from the front axle to give me a couple extra hands there. Yeah, they give you new bottom bushings for it. So right here, some new bottom bushings. They actually split right there. So they split apart. Let me see. And if you can get that split to start, the split to start over the end here, it seems to. And I'll put that on a piece of paper here. Quite honestly, probably been easier for me to do this, get this done before I actually put this thing up on here. But they're not too bad. So, anyways. We'll get these slid on, so we got the new ones that we're sliding on here. Next, I think I'll get the bolts started, and then for the upper part of the bushing and the clamp, I'm just reusing the original stock stuff for that. So we'll get a couple. Watch my light there. Yeah. Started on this side. So get the other side started here. There we go. Find the correct spot for the bushings to go on there. We'll get the upper clamps on there next. All right, that looks pretty well lined up there. Let's see, this one, not quite as much so. Right up there, maybe. All right, get the rest of the hardware here and get the clamps on and get these torqued up, and then we can get these cut off. I'm also putting on a rear sway bar too, so that'll be next up here. I'll put it all in the same video. I'll do the rear sway bar. The bus originally only comes with a front, so the rear was not on there before, so the rear will be new. All right, so I'm getting the stock clamps mounted up on there now. It's fairly evident which way they go. It looks like the cut open end goes towards the back of the vehicle. I spread it apart quite a bit to get it to just get it on there easier. And we'll clamping it down a bit here. See how the fit is. Okay, we probably a little more. There we go. Let's come together. There we go. So next up, I'll get the. Might clean these up a little bit. Get some of that rust off there. Maybe clean it up. And then I should have done that maybe. Anyways, maybe I'll pull it off. I'm going to clean those up just a little bit, and then I'm going to slide the clamp that goes over the bushings, or that goes over the top of this on here. And I might put a little white lithium grease or something on there so it slides easier. We'll see. But I'm going to clean it up for a second before I put it on there. Okay, I'm getting ready to put the clamp on here. So I'm going to squeeze this end right here, and this is the narrower end on it, and then put the wider end of the piece of the clamp that slides in on it, and then squeeze it while I pound it on in there. So first I'm going to get this thing started here. Like so. Now we're got it started. Go, and then you got the tab on this other end. It gets pounded up there to keep it from sliding. So we'll do the same thing on the other side, and I'll check the specs, and we'll get the bolts here and nuts torqued up. So back with you in a second with the torque specs. All right, we're getting this finished up here. So it says 18 foot-pounds on these. All right, so at this point we have both sides on, mounted up there, the new sway bar. So I'm gonna come back and we'll get the rear one on. Thanks, guys. All right, guys, we're getting this rear empty sway bar installed onto the 1970 VW bus here. First thing you got to do is install this L bracket they provide you where the shock absorber's at, so it'll go right in there. So we'll get that done here. And I did the other side already, and what I'm finding is that if you leave this factory washer on there, the bolt really isn't quite long enough to do what it needs to do. So I've been removing that washer. Instructions are not that friendly, so they don't say one way or the other, but I'm not seeing how it'll work otherwise. Mount it in like that. But I'm just going to tighten this up a little bit so I can still move it, and then do the final tightening after the sway bar is installed. We'll just give it a little bit there. Hold it in place while we get it installed. So next up, we'll get the sway bar installed onto the brackets here, and then we got to drill some holes into the frame where it's going to mount on the other end of the sway bar up in here. So we'll get this next part done here. Hold on just a minute. Okay, so I'm getting this empty rear sway bar mounted here, and it mounts to this L bracket, and you can kind of see the sequencing there where you have the bolt, you have one of the washers, and then you have one of the rubber bushings there, and the two rubber bushings go in between the sway bar here, and then there's another washer, there's the spacer there, another washer, and another rubber bushing there. And the problem I was running into, that I've been running into, is that the bolt here is not long enough if there's not weight and compression on these rubber bushings pushing them together. So I'll get up there so you can get a closer look at how I have it set up there. But so what I've done is I put this C-clamp on it, trying to compress it down to get these rubber bushings compressed enough to be able to fit, because let's see if I can. So what you got to do is you got to get another rubber bushing on the bottom there and a washer underneath there. So we're running out of space there. And you can see on the other side right now, I have it right there. You can see that without any compression on there, I mean, there is nowhere close to enough room to fit this other rubber bushing on there. So that's what I've been doing, is trying to get this thing compressed enough. It's been kind of a pain to get it compressed there. And maybe if I was on the ground and I had weight on it, it wouldn't be, it would be doing it, but I'm in the air right now. So we're going to try to get this on here without this C-clamp coming off here, which it's done multiple times now, so it's been kind of a real pain to get this thing on here. But I think I have it compressed enough now where I can get this nut started here and get it tightened enough to, there we go. All right, so we're on there now. I'll do the same thing to the other side, but yeah, that's the biggest pain I've run into right now, is just the fact that without compression on these rubber bushings right here, there's just not enough. The bolt isn't long enough to get the bolt on there, or the nut on there. The bolt's not long enough to get the nut on there. So that's the way I handled that. I need to do the same thing to the other side. You can see on the other side right now, I have the bolt flipped around the other way. I was trying to create some clearance down below, but it just wasn't seeming to work when I was trying to do it, trying to get the compression on there. So I ended up flipping it back to closer to the way that the instructions say. Instructions are garbage, but at least they're something. So anyways, so I'm going to get the other side on like this, and then we will take a look at drilling some holes into the frame of the vehicle to mount the other brackets on it as well. So back in a few. Okay, so I'm working on getting the U-brackets installed now, and I've used some zip ties here to hold the bar in place while I get everything marked up here and stuff. And so I got the bushing up here, and then I put the U-brackets on like that. They seem to be a little twisted, so I got to twist them a little bit. And I used a Sharpie to mark where the holes were. I confirmed it with so I ended up holding the U-bolt up there to make sure they were in the right spot, and then I punched the holes here and here so I can start to drill them. So we'll get those drilled next, and then we'll get the U-bolt installed. So I'm getting the holes drilled now. Make sure I kick the camera there. I'm getting the holes drilled. I'm starting with the smaller bit here first, just to get a hole in this, and then I'm going to put a 3/8 into. Alright, so I got a smaller hole in there, and I'm going to grab the 3/8 inch bit and get that in there. Okay, so now we're drilling with the 3/8 inch. I did a little bit on both of them just to get a good center there. There, and I might end up having to go larger, I'm not sure. Okay, at this point I got the holes drilled right here and here, and so you have to feed this U-bolt up in here like so, and then get it to feed through. And yours to be full of crap like mine is there. Feed it through like that, they want you to drill 3/8" holes. I found that 3/8" holes weren't quite really wide enough to get that U-bolt to swing around in there, so I ended up drilling them out a little larger. And so next thing, you got the bracket here that needs to go. Okay, so now we have the backing plate on there, and it's just a matter of putting the U-bracket on and get a couple bolts on there. So get that centered up there. Get the U-bracket on there. Get some bolts started here. I actually want you to torque these things to 10 foot-pounds. I'm going to try to keep them somewhat even here. Get them finger tight first so everything kind of stays in place. And get a wrench, get a socket on these things. All right, so let's see how we're doing here. 1, 2, 3. The other side close there. And how we're doing it fairly close. Get it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm running out of real estate there, and I'm going to have to get a longer socket on those. So we'll get those torqued to 10 foot-pounds. Okay, we'll get this thing torqued up all the way up to 10 foot-pounds. Not much there. There's that one. We'll get there soon. There we go. 10 there, 10 there. We'll get the other side torqued up. And then we'll look at the bushings as well, where they connect there. Okay, a couple last things. So I tightened up the bolts here on where the tie rod connects to the, or sway bar connects to the L bracket here. Instructions say to tighten this nut until the bushings just start to compress. Whatever that means, I'll leave it to your discretion. I just tightened it up enough where I had a couple threads exposed down here is where I went to, but that's kind of up to you. And then on the bolt here that connects the lower shock bolt here that you connect into, I torqued those to 25 foot-pounds. It's interesting, they want you to do it 22 to 25, but without this on here, the Volkswagen specifications are actually 43 foot-pounds, so it's quite a bit more. But I went the full, I did the 25 there, so we'll have to see how that works. Anyways, at some point I'll report back on a road test on the sway bars here, on the new heavy-duty front sway bar and the rear sway bar, and what I think. It's going to be a bit before I get this thing on the road, because I have I'm doing an engine rebuild on it also. So at some point we'll see that. Until then, be sure, if you want to follow on, click the bell, like, subscribe, all that kind of good stuff. Thanks. Appreciate it. All right, maybe before I cut off here, what I'll do is just at least do a visual walk around for you so you can see how everything looks. So just so if you're wondering what everything looked like. So there's the L bracket bolted into the shock bolt there with the L facing down. There's the bushings and washers, as I believe the instructions want me to do. It's not. And then up top here, you can see we have the L bracket, or the U bracket there, where I had to drill the hole where we're connected in there. And you can see that's on the upswing. So we're flat here, and then as you go back, See if I can give you a better visualization of that one. So it's flat here, and then as you come here, it's where it starts on the upslope that you're actually bolting into there. And then also these things hang down a bit, so let me let you look at that. Okay, so you can see how much we're hanging down there from where the transmission is, and you're probably, I'm going to say you're hanging down 2.5 to 3 inches. So you do lose a little bit of clearance there if you take your bus off-road, which isn't really my intention. I don't know how much camping I'm doing with this thing necessarily. It's primarily going to be for a street vehicle. And then here's the other side as well. We have the U-bracket there connected in, and then we're coming back to the passenger side here. And again, we have the L bracket with the sway bar connecting into the bushings there. So there it is. One last look before we say goodbye. Talk to you guys later. Bye.